Welcome back. Whether you're starting a business or working on a new innovation, the challenge is the same. You're using your creative or innovative skills to solve a problem. Many will think that creativity or innovation just happens and that some people are inherently more creative than others. The reality is that while some people are definitely more creative than others, as we've discussed in a previous session, success in innovation and creativity benefits from an innovation process. Andy Vanderveen from the University of Minnesota's Carlson School of Management is one of the first researchers who investigated problem solving and the innovation process. He's actually authored two of the most highly regarded books on the topics, The Innovation Journey, which he published in 1999, and Organizational Change and Innovation Processes, which he authored in 2000. These books have transformed how we think about innovation and creativity, and most of his insights come from his work directing the Minnesota Innovation Research Program in the 1980s, when he worked with 30 researchers to track the development of innovation from concept to implementation. I'll let him explain what he found.
At that time, we being 30 faculty and doctoral students from about 8 or 9 different departments, were studying 14 different innovations from concept to implementation. And our reaction, our motivation was, we had just reviewed the literature and found that there were something like 800 studies of organizational innovativeness, which is to count the number of new products, services, and activities that go on in a company, but very, very few that actually track the process of innovation from concept to implementation. And among these 14 different innovations were new company startups, joint ventures, internal corporate innovations, in terms of technology, product, process, and so forth innovation. We found one interesting thing, that the process by which ideas got developed and implemented in these innovations, in the internal corporate innovation, in joint ventures, and in internal corporate innovations, was basically the same. The literature on this field of entrepreneurship has somehow treated internal company startups and new company startups and joint ventures as if they are 3 totally different animals. Well, in terms of the process, they're fundamentally alike. There are variations, but the process is fundamentally alike.
Andy goes on to explain that the process, the sequence by which people developed the concept or ideas, was chaotic and was not likely to be repeatable. This insight led to an interest in better understanding the process and what did not work. As a result of this, we developed the science of innovation management, viewing it as a process involving an innovation journey for each idea, a reliance on experimentation, and the recognition of failure as a learning opportunity. In the words of Thomas Edison, "I've not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." These findings have led to the development of other innovation management tools, such as StageGate or the Lean Startup. The question is, how can we improve our innovation and creativity processes? And what does Andy mean by this? Let's find out.
There was another really interesting finding, that the process, the sequence of events by which these people developed their innovations over time from concept to implementation reflected pretty much of a chaotic process. And the chaotic process means that the process is not controllable. What you can do is think of it, innovation and the process of innovation, more like a river, an uncharted river. And if you jump in, that is a big issue of people willing to take courage to start something new, to launch a new entrepreneurial venture. But they certainly do not control the river. What they learn to do, or need to learn to do, is they need to learn how to float, how to swim, how to guide themselves through the rapids or negotiate or navigate. So whereas entrepreneurs can learn to maneuver the journey, they don't control the direction and the flows of the river. And currently, far too many management and far too many of us faculty teaching entrepreneurship are still somehow believing that those entrepreneurs are in control and therefore accountable for their success. They're accountable for practicing well. But you do accept the fact that the majority of innovations, whether they're new company startups, internal corporate ventures, joint ventures, are going to be unsuccessful. So the whole point though is that within a company, let's say at 3M, there's about 250 innovation projects unfolding at the same time. If you can increase your odds of success by 5% or 10%, that makes a huge economic consequence. So practice hard is the message that I give on specific kinds of activities, rather than assume that you can control it through some stage gate process.
Clearly, successful innovation, whether in a startup or a larger organization, follows a specific sequence of events that occur and reoccur as the development of an idea or concept moves from idea to implementation. We improve our own innovation creativity by observing and conceptualizing each stage of the process and using each stage to test a specific hypothesis, such as a problem, and then viewing the process as a learning opportunity. Andy reflects on the overall process and has this to say.
Well, to say that innovation is not controllable and that you can learn to maneuver it is to say you need to learn new concepts. You need to learn various kinds of hurdles, challenges that are unfolding that deal with changing goals, dealing with setbacks, dealing with changing relationships, dealing with the infrastructure by which the larger system unfolds, dealing with new technologies, dealing with the fact that you have to acquire new technologies or companies as a part of the innovation process. We can learn to do each of those tasks better. And in classes, you can begin to develop exercises as well as do those in practice. So to say that you can learn to maneuver the innovation is to say you can do it both in the classroom with understanding new concepts, but also in practice in terms of learning how to negotiate, how to resolve conflicts, how to exercise leadership, how to change the roles that leaders perform. Well, to begin to think about the operating organization as well as its innovative subsystem begins to lead you to think about how do you manage a converging and diverging cycle of activities that are going on simultaneously and over time, so that in many ways you could think of the innovation journey as one that begins in a divergent cycle of exploration and so forth, which then after a while of work and discovery, you come to a convergent period of beginning to develop, to implement, and to increase the business operations. But as that process of convergence occurs, there's more divergence going on. And this is not, I go this way because I think of this as the innovation journey consists of an ongoing dynamic cycle of divergent behavior leading to discovery and exploration and testing, and discovery, and then converging into a convergent period of unified action that would be leading to innovation, which then in turn comes back together and starts the divergent cycle. And so you have this ongoing cycle. Managers then need to learn to be ambidextrous, as Mike Tushman would say. That is, you need to develop skills of converging, unifying implementation, which are very different from discovery, development, and exploration.
As Andy notes, each stage in the process involves using the creative problem-solving process we've already discussed, and it uses a series of divergent and convergent processes. Enhanced learning about this process can be gained through recording your divergent ideas and the process by which you converge, so that subsequently you can challenge poor assumptions about users or customers or competitors, the resources you might need, your organization, and other factors that influence your decisions. Later on, and this is the essence of the creative problem-solving process, you can use the series of divergent and convergent stages to progress ideas through the journey. At each stage, there may be failures, and with the need to go back 1 or 2 stages. Hopefully, this will allow you to reject ideas and find more promising ones. What seemed initially like a good idea may not on reflection be one, or it's already been done by somebody else, or simply it's ahead of its time. Organizations with these types of innovation processes continually rank as innovation leaders, not only because they consistently develop innovative products or solutions, but because these solutions are a result of a deployment of an innovation process that they reflect on. So let's talk in some more detail about the creative problem-solving process, which can be traced back to the work of Alex Osborne in the 1940s, and then further developed by Sid Barnes in the 1950s. The 4 core elements of the process, as well as many of the tools used, such as brainstorming, telescoping, and challenge mapping, all originated out of their work. The 4 stages they described include clarify, identify the issue, gather the data, and formulate the challenges. Ideate, explore different ideas and opportunities. Develop, formulate solutions and identify the best fit. And implement, develop a plan that's cognizant of the resources and the practicality of addressing the challenges. In developing a creative problem-solving process, there are 2 problem-solving assumptions that we make. The first is that everyone is creative in some way. And the second is that creative skills can be learned and enhanced. The creative problem-solving process works best when the following are considered. Divergent and convergent stages of the process must be balanced and undertaken as separate stages. Problems are better addressed when asked as open-ended questions. Judgment should be deferred or suspended as long as possible, because instantaneous judgment shuts down idea generation. And there should be a focus on yes and rather than no but when generating information and ideas. Language matters. Creative problem solving is a proven method for approaching a problem or a challenge in an imaginative and innovative way. It's a method that helps you redefine the problems and opportunities you face, come up with new innovative responses, and then solutions that you can implement. Using the tools and techniques that make this process purposeful help you to engage with others, collaborate, and come up with solutions. My colleague Rob McNamee provides an overview of this creative process.
The creative process usually includes a series of divergent and convergent phases. During divergent phases, you explore, identify, or generate multiple alternatives. During convergent phases, you filter, select, and evolve down to a final subset of information or ideas. As you may have noticed, divergence is closely related to the artist role, while convergence is closely related to the judge role. This divergence and convergence occurs multiple times throughout the creative problem-solving process. For example, as you analyze a problem, there is first a great deal of information, data, and facts that you need to gather to understand the situation fully. However, once you've identified all this information, you'll need to recognize what is crucial versus what is less critical, so that you're able to focus on the most important aspects of the problem. This process can also help you realize that there are actually many ways to frame or state the problem, and this has a big influence on the answers you will generate. Importantly, the creative problem-solving process is not a discrete or linear process. It's actually iterative, which means it starts over again when it's finished. This is why the process was displayed as a circle in the previous slide. Finally, truly creative individuals jump around the process, switching between stages as necessary to generate the most creative outcomes.
As you can see, using a process allows you to be creative and think differently in order to come up with and subsequently implement innovative ideas. It's an iterative process, and understanding it can improve your problem-solving ability. In the next session, my colleague Mim Basadeur will introduce the essential elements of the creative problem-solving process